I have a question for you. Who here had a nickname growing up? Well, I did as well. My dad used to call me Oso, which in Spanish means bear. Now, at the time when I was a little kid, I really didn't understand why. Maybe he thought I looked like a little bear. But I always thought it was super embarrassing. And he just kept calling me that in public, around friends, family, so much so that it eventually stuck. And they also started calling me that. But as I look back on it now as an adult, I actually really love the nickname. I love the nickname so much, not only because it reminds me of my dad, but because I love the animal, the bear. I love the animal, the bear, that I take pictures with it anytime I come across one. And a real one's not out of the question. I would do that as well. I love it so much that I integrated it into the name of my company, Bear Den Epoxy Coatings. And before she was my wife, I tried to convince my girlfriend at the time to name our first child Cub. So she shot that down, so we have Cub Correa Justice now instead, our little mini golden doodle. But as much as I love the bear, I never really related to it. I didn't relate to it because, for once, bears love to sleep. Obviously, they hibernate. I'm kind of the opposite. I like to run off of 5 or 6 hours of sleep and kind of feel good that way. Bears are also very solitary travelers, and I'm kind of, again, the opposite. I love to be around people. I think that's why I do the job that I do now, and why, as a native of Lafayette for 17 years, I can't go anywhere without running into someone that I know and throwing off our plans for about 15 to 20 minutes as I strike up a conversation. No, the animal that I related to the most was the buffalo. And here's why. On plains, when a snowstorm rolls in, most animals tend to run away from the storm. But the buffalo does something different. It turns the other way and walks straight into it, knowing that that's going to be the quickest way through it. And when I heard that for the first time, just a few years ago, it just resonated with me. Because as I looked back at my life, I realized that was really the only way I'd gone through things. But it took me a while to develop that mindset. I didn't always think that way. I was scared of the unknown at times. And I don't want to come up here and give a motivational speech. That's not who I am. I wanted to be as genuine as possible and talk about myself. But I also didn't want to make it seem like my challenges are bigger than anybody else's. We all face storms in life. But what I have learned is that when we embrace those storms, you begin to see parts of yourself that you didn't know existed. And amazing things happen. New opportunities begin to appear. And the person that walks out of that storm looks completely different than the person that walked in. But I like to start from the beginning. I moved to Lafayette when I was 10 years old after my parents split up, and it was difficult. I remember the time like it was yesterday. I missed my friends. I missed my family at the time. I just really missed the life that I'd built in Dallas. I'd spent most of my early childhood dealing with my mom's mental health. She battled with schizophrenia my whole life, and I was very lost. But I knew that this was just another one of life's challenges. It was just another one of life's storms. However, like I mentioned earlier, I didn't always have that mindset. So when I got here, it shocked me. Not only did the move shock me, the culture shocked me. Dallas, Texas is a very Hispanic-heavy community. And I would go anywhere that I would go, I would see people that looked like me, talk the same language that I talked with my parents. And that wasn't the case here in Lafayette. So at 10 years old, I was lost. And like most animals, my first instinct was to run the other way. But I don't remember the exact moment, but my mindset changed. And I realized that if I just embraced this, things would go better for me. I would make friends in middle school, and I'd enjoy my time here. And the courage that it took to embrace this new challenge gave me the courage to embrace a challenge that I decided to choose, which was amateur wrestling. Now, at the time, I really, really enjoyed WWE and professional wrestling, but I knew that I wasn't going to be able to put anybody through a table as much as I'd like, or jump off of a ladder in middle school and high school. So the next best thing was going to be amateur wrestling. Wrestling taught me so much. I began wrestling at Boiler Elite Wrestling Club, and for the first 3 months, got my butt kicked constantly. The sport was not only physically demanding, but mentally demanding for a kid that didn't play a lot of sports growing up. But something kept telling me to go back, just kept telling me to embrace the challenge. And there's a saying that I love by Dan Gable, an Olympic champion for the United States. He says, once you've wrestled, everything else in life is easy. Wrestling gave me that identity and the confidence that I was missing, that maybe I was missing when I first moved to Lafayette. Not only did the sport give me that, it helped me build friendships and relationships that have lasted me a lifetime. But storms don't stop there. They just change shapes, and life gives you many of them. But they all test the same thing, their willingness to learn from being uncomfortable. None of that tested me as much as the role that I'm in now as the Latino Business Liaison. Now, I've always considered myself a leader, so much so that I was voted team captain my senior year of wrestling. But this was going to be a whole different challenge. I was going to have to stand in front of a community and say, we can build something together, we can build something different. Because this role hadn't existed before. It didn't exist when I interviewed for it. I was nervous because there was no blueprint. And in the conversations that I had with community members, trusted community members of the Latino community, they told me, buy-in's going to be difficult, but it's possible. But with Greater Lafayette Commerce support and the support from the community, we went in headstrong, horns down, into this new storm. But it took time and effort. It took going door to door to these businesses and asking them, how can we help you grow as an entrepreneur? How can we help maybe the next generation of entrepreneurs as they come in? And we learned that businesses, Latino or not, deal with a lot of the same issues: exposure, business networking, business resources, and just being more educated about being an entrepreneur. So we took all that and we began to build programs that mattered. We built the first Conexiones, the first Latino networking event within the first 4 months. And I remember that event like it was yesterday, where we had over 25 Latino businesses in a room. And in conversations with the business owners that were there, they told me, we have never seen so many Latino businesses in one area. It was a real prideful moment for me, a real joyful moment for me, because I didn't know if that was going to be possible. Conexiones now has turned into a quarterly event where we still offer the same thing. We still offer networking opportunities. People are able to come in and talk with one another, but we're also offering resources at those events. We offer a keynote speaker that talks about things that matter to the business owners: marketing, insurance, just all of the above. We also put together webinars to allow our business owners to get these resources where they're at. We understood that a lot of them couldn't come to these events during the middle of the day, but we still wanted to get that information out to them. So we did webinars on alternative forms of lending and the basics of AI in business. We put together the first ever Latino Business Expo. The Latino Business Expo took place for the first time in 2024 and saw over 55 businesses participate, with almost 60% of them being Latino-owned. Another great way for Latino businesses to get exposure. And in the second year, this past year, saw over 65 businesses participating, with, again, over 60% of them being Latino-owned. Now, looking back on it now, it was a very difficult time. With the new administration, there was thoughts about canceling the expo. Thank goodness we didn't, because the community showed up and the business owners showed up as well. We also put together a Latino Pioneros dinner, or Latino Trailblazers dinner. This dinner gives us an opportunity to say thank you to our business owners, and we awarded the first ever Latino Community Leadership Award last year to one of our local community members. With all this came more growth in our membership. When I started, we had 7 members, and we were able to grow that 7-fold within the first year to about 50 members. With that growth came opportunities for businesses to be recognized and be nominated for the Small Business of the Month Award. And we've had over 3 Latino Small Business of the Month winners since I started my position in the past 2 years, just due to the influx of membership and being able to be nominated. Businesses that have been in this community for over 25 years, finally getting that recognition that they deserved. And with that growth came other opportunities to join nonprofit boards, work with other local organizations, and help others find their voice in their community. But as I was doing that, the same voice that popped into my head when I moved to Lafayette kept coming back. Are you sure you belong here? Do you have the experience? What if you fail? And just like at that time, I could have maybe walked away and let those voices win. But walking away would have been missing out on opportunities like this. It would have meant not making a change in the community that I love. And now public speaking isn't my favorite thing, but it has become a regular occurrence in my role. However, now I actually prefer to do most of my public speaking in Spanish more than I do in English, because I think there's a little bit more of a leeway there. So when I was first presented with this opportunity, like we mentioned before, I think my first thought was, I think I'm busy that day. November is a pretty busy month for me. And the second thought was, why me? What am I going to share? But the more I thought about it, the more I realized that this was just another one of life's storms thrown at me. So that's why I said yes. Because what I shared tonight, the storms that life had thrown at me, like moving to Lafayette, embracing a new sport, and my role as Latino Business Liaison, and the challenges that came with that I wouldn't have what I have today, and I wouldn't have done what we've done today. Now, walking into the storm requires strength. So that's how I ended up here. Not because I love public speaking or because I have life figured out, but because I walked into the life storm. And storms don't stop, they just change shape. The storms that once scared me, like moving to a new city or starting a new role, or really anything, they've all just prepared me for where I'm at now. But what I've learned through them all is that they aren't something to run from, they're something to embrace. They all have lessons inside of them. Sometimes it's patience, sometimes it's courage. Sometimes it's just knowing that what's on the other side is the real reward. And for me, that's right here, doing what I do, making a change in the community that I grew up in, for a community that I love, a community that looks like my family. And purpose, and to recognize that purpose doesn't come from comfort, it comes from discomfort. And that's why I relate to the buffalo. Because the buffalo doesn't run in the opposite direction of the storm. And maybe that's what we're all called to do in this life, is to face our storms head on. So whether your storm is starting a new business or doing your first public speaking engagement, or really just anything, don't turn away from it, turn towards it. Because the version of you that's on the other side, that's waiting on the other side, that's the real reward. And maybe, just maybe, that's the buffalo in all of us. Thank you.